Let's read James chapter 1 verses 2 to 4. James says, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And let perseverance have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing." Now notice what James says in verse 2. He says to count it all joy when you face trials. And honestly, that sounds strange at first because nobody enjoys hardship. But look at who James is actually talking to. James is writing to believers who have been scattered and were going through real hardship, pressure, and persecution. These believers were suffering. It would have been easy for them to think, maybe God has abandoned us. Maybe God is not with us. But James teaches something a lot of men still miss today. And that is that trials are not proof that God has abandoned you. Sometimes they are the very thing that God is using to mature you. A lot of men right now are carrying pressure that nobody really sees. You're working hard. You're trying to provide, trying to lead their family, trying to stay strong spiritually. And many men pray for stronger faith, more discipline, more patience, and more spiritual maturity. But I want you to look at verse 3. James says, "The testing of your faith produces perseverance." Why would he tell suffering believers that? Because James wants them to understand that their hardship is not meaningless. Even for you, your hardship is not meaningless. You see, their faith is being developed through what they are facing. And that is oftentimes how our faith is developed, through our experiences. You see, and then in verse 4, he says, perseverance eventually leads to maturity and completeness, lacking in nothing. In other words, God is using pressure to develop something in you that comfort never could. Because some growth only happens under pressure. You see, God often develops mature men in uncomfortable seasons. And the goal is not just to get through trials. The goal is to grow through them. So that pressure that you dislike right now, that's uncomfortable, that's hardship, that uncomfortable season may actually be producing the maturity that you have been praying for. So embrace it.